You're listening to The Sports Den on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Bro, can I be honest with you about something?
Yeah, what's up?
I'm like a little nervous right now.
Why is that?
I don't know what, like, this dude's a big deal. I don't know, like, what do I call him? I mean, I'm not a military guy. I love the military, like beyond love the military. But what do I mean?
That's a good question. Well, hopefully I'm not too far out of, I'll just say Mr. Fanning.
Here we go. Let's just try that. Let's see if we get, like, yelled at. Mr. Fanning? Secretary Fanning?
Or how do we address you first, sir?
You can call me Eric. That works fine.
Oh, no, I don't know if I can do that now. I don't know. Like,
well, what I have learned, though, being a military spouse, is that when they do say call them, they do mean that.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
now,
I don't get to hear my first name very much, so I'll take it when I can get it.
All right.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you tonight?
We couldn't be any better. Now, let me explain to you kind of what you're talking to. You're talking to two guys who act like they know what they're talking about on the radio and really just sit here and laugh for 2 hours.
Well, that's what I usually do when I'm on the radio, so it's perfect.
Oh, awesome. So we're going to start off with kind of I don't know, maybe a dumb question, but what exactly is the service secretary? What exactly do service secretaries do?
Well, I describe it as being the CEO of the Army. I take about $144 billion a year and turn it into an army of 1.2 million people in uniform and 250,000 civilians, and then train them and equip them, and then turn them over to the generals and admirals who are organizing how we fight around the world.
Wow.
So he doesn't really do that much.
Yeah, so it's not.
What do you do with the rest of your day?
Yeah.
A little bit of football every now and then.
Awesome. That's good.
And, of course, that's why we've got you on. This is awesome. We appreciate it. Secretary of the Army, Eric Fanning, on with us. Army-Navy game this week, and we're going to get to that. But I know, James has been.
Yeah.
James went, last year?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We were supposed to go this year, but, some things fell through. But it's
There's
cold
still
up
time.
there, man.
We've got tickets.
You do?
Last year it was 70 degrees.
It was 70. Dadgummit. Oh, I'm going to put him on blast. I'm going to get on
you missed
Major
the good
Oprah.
year. You missed the good year.
Oh, last year you said it was 70 degrees.
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to say, I got the weather report. Is it cold up there? Is it cold in D.C. now?
It's not so bad now, but it's going to be a little bit cold this weekend.
Well, just talk about just what this game means to the different service academies, what it means, to obviously West Point and Annapolis, and this is a really, really big deal. It's on my bucket list.
Right.
And I don't have much on my bucket list, but this is on there.
There's no game like it. Once you see it, you'll understand why. The rivalry goes back to 1890, and I think for both teams, there's no game that's more important. One of my aides played on the Army team when they used to beat Navy, which we'll do again this year, and he said nobody asked him if he played in a bowl. Nobody asked him about any other game. They just asked, did you beat Navy? It's a storied rivalry. Like I said, it goes back to 1890. They played until 1893, and they took a little break because Navy won that year, and an admiral and a general got into such a fight they almost had a duel, so they had to take a 5-year break.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Nobody told me that story. That is an awesome story. Like I down here in Florida State, Florida is the big rivalry, and I can't stand a lot of Florida fans haven't played at Florida State, but I don't think I've ever gotten to, like, I want to challenge you to a duel type mad at them. So that's some real good.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
The difference here is, I grew up in Michigan, Ohio State, now Michigan State, but the difference at this game, and it is a real rivalry. I mean, they take it very seriously. But when the cadets and the midshipmen graduate, they're going to be fighting alongside each other, and they know that every year that they play against each year.
That's true.
Yeah, that's really cool. And there's so many different reasons it's on my bucket list, but one of the main reasons is just the commitment that these guys as football players are making. And it is insane. I'll be completely honest with you. I was recruited by Army. When the guy told me, hey, you can come up here and play football, and then after that you only have to serve, I think at the time, 6 years or something. I was like, that's 18, 19, 20, 20. Holy cow, I'm going to be 31 years old. No, thank you. I didn't have it in me. So, I mean, you talk about the commitment that these guys are making, not just to a crazy hard education, not just to football, but to their country and what that means.
Well, all the military training on top of that. They are remarkable Americans, not just as football players, but as scholars and as leaders.
Yeah, I got a question. Matter of fact, speaking of that, now it hasn't so much happened with Army, even though I do know you have to be pretty proud. I think of the tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah,
I think he's a former Ranger. But what about guys? What is your opinion of the guys who actually do perform very well, who should have an opportunity to go to the NFL? That's just something why we got you on here. What are your thoughts on that? Even though they made their commitment, but they've performed well enough to be able to get those NFL eyes on them.
We look at cases on an individual basis. I think if someone is good enough to play professionally, it's good for the military. It's good for the country because it helps bridge that gap between those who are serving and those who are being protected. We're looking for ways to help bring the country closer to the military, closer to the services. And I think professional athletics in general, is a really important way to do that.
Can you, are there any other cases of where you've got some extremely elite athletes in the military that kind of go on to do some pretty good things professionally?
Yeah, we've got, across the service academies, we've had people play professionally, professional basketball, soccer. It's not just football.
David Robinson.
Exactly. Who was down at the Army Notre Dame game in San Antonio a couple weeks back.
What about because I was doing a little research. I was surprised, Olympians.
Yeah, so this summer I get a call asking if I want to be a part of the president's delegation to the closing ceremonies of the Olympics, and of course the answer is yes. Who wouldn't go to the Olympics? Who wouldn't go to Rio? After I made sure they had me on the list, I said, "Well, why'd you ask me?" We had 12 soldiers
Wow.
competing in the Olympics this summer, and 2 of them medaled. One got a silver medal, Paul Chelimo, in the 5,000-meter race, which we hadn't medaled in a very long time, and then we had a Paul Kendricks, a lieutenant, who got the bronze in the pole vault. And both of them got a lot of attention. Paul, the pole vaulter, a video of him went viral because he's racing for a practice vault, and he hears the national anthem playing, and he skids to a stop, drops his pole, and goes to attention. And then Paul Chelimo is great. He actually is native Kenyan, and he became a United States citizen because of his service through the Army, and does us doubly proud by winning a silver medal in the Olympics.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. When you sit back and you think it makes perfect sense. These guys are and women are crazy good athletes with what they have to go through in military training, all that kind of stuff. And it just seems like recently the military has become more involved in athletics and hosting basketball games on ships. That's awesome to me.
Yeah.
That's awesome to me. That's I'm assuming that's by design. That's something that you guys want to continue to do is more games affiliated with the military?
Oh, absolutely. We've got a lot going on. The Braves and the Marlins played at Fort Bragg this summer. The Knicks do training camps up at West Point. We look for that. First of all, that discipline for such high-level athletics and athletes and what we see in the military, there's a direct correlation there. But as I said earlier, it's wonderful to link the military, our amazing soldiers, with professional sports to help tell the story of what the Army and what the other services are doing.
All right, let's get into this game. So tell me, we're kind of trash talking type of people here. We talking like epic levels of trash talking between the two academies? What are we talking here?
It's crazy. It's a lot of fun, but it's crazy. The Secretary of the Navy does a spirit video. I do a spirit video, which I started rolling out last night in segments. We'll roll out the final thing on Thursday. We have pep rallies across the Pentagon on Thursday. It really is, it's one of the longest standing rivalries in collegiate athletics, and there's a lot of trash talk. The Navy's won 14 years in a row, but everything's got to come to an end.
That hurts, doesn't it?
They were crushed by Temple this last weekend, a school that we beat at the beginning of the season. So Army's feeling pretty good. And James, you should have gone to the game last year. Not only was it a beautiful day, and even though Army lost, there wasn't a single moment in the game where it could have gone to either team. It was the best game you could have, and yet lose.
Oh wow! So you actually were bringing up about the Temple game, and I'm noticing, and I was talking to, there's a couple people I know who went to West Point, and they're very into this. Like one of them is a local basketball coach down here. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, this is our chance. 14 years in a row. So their quarterback's banged. They're like the third string quarterback. Their top slot receiver, and their defense is all banged up. So they're hoping. Well, he said the secondary, but you guys don't really throw the ball that much in this game. It's like they just run. like right into each other. Like it's actually almost like old school battle
Did you just
formations.
say they just run right into each
Like
other?
it looks like what you think about the old war movies. They just run. They just kind of go back. From what I remember, but I remember more about the atmosphere of the game than the actual game itself when I went.
I've never seen anything like it, having gone to quite a few amazing rivalries. And again, part of it is that they have that joint bond, that shared experience that they're going to have when they graduate. But yeah, it's an intense rivalry. Before this job, I was the undersecretary of the Air Force, the number 2 position there. And, you know, the Air Force the Academy likes to say they got the Commander-in-Chief's trophy already because they beat both Navy and Army. But Navy and Army like to say they don't care about that game. There's only one game that matters. And Navy has had a great year. They were playing for the conference championship. But as the sports writer in the Post said, nobody cares about that game. And they've injured their 2 top players in anticipation of the most important game of the season, which is the Army-Navy game.
Nice.
We're talking with Eric Fanning, the Secretary of the Army. Thank you so much for coming on. Continuing down that line there, you know, you just talk about like coaching and all that kind of stuff at Army and at Navy and all these different Air Force and all of them. And I know it's got to be a special kind of person, doesn't it? I mean, they have to really recognize what they're getting into when they come and coach at West Point.
Yeah, we've got, you know, our head coach is in his 3rd year, Jeff Monk, and they're not only all 3 of them really, because I worked in the Navy department actually before I worked in the Air Force department, so I moved through all 3. Amazing coaches, but clearly drawn to these schools because of the mission of the military and where these cadets and midshipmen are going to go after they leave the academies.
You know, something I want to bring in so we can, you know, kind of put a nice little bow on it. I get a chance to work with your PA office here in Jacksonville, and I remember the first time I met you got an awesome lady, April Valdez. I'm a plugger. She came up to me. We are not the number 2 option. We are the number 1 option. We are America's team, and like she pretty much sold me. Like I did some push-ups, was ready to do a PT test. So what I want you to do is give us the spiel. If because one, you can't just be no dumb kid. Like
no.
you got to be. I couldn't have gone. I went to Florida State. There's no way in the world I could have gotten into West Point or Annapolis or either one of these places. But give us a spiel. Why should the best and the brightest pick West Point over Annapolis?
Well, first, let me say that my family's all in Jacksonville now, and I'll be down there for Christmas. So, April Valdez, I'm going to come find you and give you a challenge coin for getting James pumped up like this.
Awesome.
Look, if you go to any of the military academies, it's an amazing thing. You're going to get a great education. You're going to come out a leader of character, and you're going to go on and do great things in the United States military. West Point, I'm biased. I have 2 uncles that went there. My father grew up in that part of the country or right outside of West Point. But I'd say a couple of things. One, it is by far, in my view, the most beautiful setting of the 3 academies. 2, the Army is huge. We've got soldiers in 140 countries today. And so the opportunities you get coming out of the Army are unparalleled. And 3, you go to West Point today, you're going to be there at the start of the resurgence of the West Point football program as we go on to crush Air Force and Navy into the foreseeable future.
So are we predicting there's a new streak about to begin, and how long will that streak run?
We are predicting there's a new streak that's about to begin, and since Navy's got us 14 years in a row, I'm going to say at least 15.
There
nice,
you go.
Nice.
There you go. So when do you get in? I mean, what's your tailgating ritual?
I actually go pretty early because the cadets gather to march on to the field, and I like to go and spend time with them as they're doing that. And then I hit as many of the tailgates as I can to see as many of the grads as I can. Although as you get closer to the game, the tailgates get a little bit messier. But then you got to get to the stadium because usually I got one of my bosses that will be there as sort of the senior official. And then I just try to spend as much time either on the field or with the cadets as I can during the game. They're fired up. It's fun to be with them.
One last question, then we'll let you run. We know you're busy, and we appreciate the time. How many of these have you actually attended now?
Army-Navy games is my second one because 2 years ago I was in the Air Force position, so I was going to the Air Force games, which are a blast as well. But there's nothing like when Army plays Navy.
Oh, man.
Well, I just got a text right now.
It's on my bucket list. Yeah.
My wife, First Lieutenant Taisha Coleman, just said she's pumped. You got her motivated. She says She said, I don't care what you got to do, bump the radio show. We're going up next year. She said, if I can twist your arm, you go this year. But
you guys want to come up this year? I'll take care of it.
Hey, don't tempt us with a good time.
I tell you what, you'll hear from us. You'll hear from us right when our show ends.
You tell your wife she can come up without you.
Well, no, hold on.
Yeah, we're gonna go. We're gonna go. I might actually. I think she got drilled this weekend anyway, so she got to stay.
Hey, don't back out of this.
No, I'm gonna figure this
out. From me, my man. I appreciate it. I appreciate so much you coming on. This is awesome. We have a text line here, and it is just. I'll tell you what one of them is how the hell did you guys get this guy? Like
yeah.
I wanted to call in so my nieces and nephews could hear me on the radio, and also I know Jacksonville's a Navy town, so I had to give a little Army smack.
Got you. Well, thank you so much. It was an honor having you on. Best of luck to you, sir, and we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you. That was stinking cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You know, that's one of the cool thing about, people who are in service and the higher ups, and I get a chance to, interact with them. Like, you sit back, I'm thinking in my head, like, yo, you were like, they're just so humble.
Yeah.
But the flip side sometimes is like, especially when they get a chance to interact with players, like, they're like, yo, you played in the Orange Bowl, you did this. And I'm like, dude, you got like cool war stories.
Dude,
I want to hear that.
You're a CEO of our military.
And the way he said it was just so
matter of
fact. It's just like, yeah, I'm in control of 144 such and such $1 million with 1.4 million soldiers that I have to equip, train, and get ready to just hand over to some general who just does something. Yeah, I'm sitting here like, man, like, oh, that's it? That's all you do?
I usually have that knocked out by 10-8.
Yeah. Like, it takes that whole we do more before 8 a.m. than most people do. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the schedule's pretty legit.
I mean, at 8 a.m., I never mind. That's not appropriate for radio. Anyway.
That was cool.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. We come back. We will get into this college football playoff stuff. We'll get into Heisman stuff. We'll get into to a little bit of Jack stuff as well. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Sports Den from Wicked Barley Studios, brought to you by ABC Fine Wine and Spirits.